Hello, and welcome to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics. Today is Wednesday, 11 September. I'm your host, Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence, and every weekday we bring you not just the news, but the so what from the events and decisions that shape our world. So grab a coffee and get ready to be informed. In today's update, we'll be covering US and European sanctions against Iran due to missile transfers to Russia. An Indian state has shut down internet. And China has opted out of a blueprint for military AI use. So firstly, the United States, Britain, France, and Germany announced on Tuesday that Iran had supplied short-range ballistic missiles to Russia for use in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, during a press conference with British Foreign Secretary David Lammy in London, stated that these missiles would likely be used within weeks against Ukrainian targets, allowing Russia to conserve its long-range arsenal for a more distant strike. In response, the four nations have vowed to impose swift sanctions on Iran, focusing on its aviation sector and targeting individuals and entities involved in this transfer of weapons. The governments have condemned the transfer as a significant escalation and a threat to European security. Sanctions have already been implemented, including the cancellation of bilateral air services with Iran, sanctions on Air Iran, and new measures targeting Iranian nationals and companies linked to the ballistic missile program. The European Union has also pledged a strong response, with France and Germany joining the UK in announcing these immediate sanctions. Iran has denied the allegations, although Ukrainian forces have consistently reported the use of Iranian drones since late 2022. Despite these new sanctions, Ukraine expressed that while the measures were positive, they do not go far enough, calling for further military support and authorization to target deeper into Russian territory with Western weapons. So what? I'm not really sure what more sanctions can be brought against Iran, as this has been the tactic for several years now. But if there are things that can still be targeted, then more power to them. It seems more likely that an effective tool would be targeting Iran's supply chains and international money-making operations. For example, exploitation of Iranian drones captured in Ukraine has shown that they are still heavily reliant on Western electronics, and disrupting these supply chains would likely cause more damage to Iran than further sanctions. And next, in Manipur, in northern India, authorities have imposed a 5-day internet shutdown and an indefinite curfew in response to renewed violence between the Hindu and Christian communities. The unrest, which escalated on the 1st of September, saw the use of drones to drop explosives, further intensifying the conflict. Protests erupted on Monday as hundreds of students demonstrated against the violence, resulting in clashes with police and around 45 people being injured. Protesters are demanding the removal of the state's top police official and security advisor, accusing them of failing to control the ongoing violence, which has claimed 11 lives in recent days. The conflict, which began late last year, centres on disputes over economic benefits and government quotas for jobs and education, primarily between the Hindu and Christian communities. Since the clashes started, over 225 people have died and 60,000 people have been displaced. The state, which is governed by the Indian Prime Minister Modi's BJP party, has faced criticism for its lack of response, with neither Modi or his party commenting on it in recent times. This is not the first time that this region has faced an internet shutdown, as similar measures were implemented late last year during the initial outbreak of violence. So what? I'm not well versed on India's internal issues, but it appears likely that there are numerous current issues ongoing, and this is nothing to mention the several threats facing at their border, with conflicts against Pakistan, China, and an ongoing civil war within Bangladesh. Definitely a region to keep an eye on. And lastly, at a recent summit in South Korea, around 60 countries, including the United States, signed a blueprint for action to promote the responsible use of artificial intelligence within military operations. The guidelines emphasize that AI applications in the military should be ethical and human centric, focusing on maintaining human control over systems, particularly in the use of force. The document also addressed risks associated with AI in a military setting, calling for thorough risk assessments and measures to prevent AI from contributing to the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. While key NATO members, including France, Germany, and the UK, supported the agreement, notable absences, including Russia, which was not invited due to its ongoing conflict, and China, which sent a representative but did not endorse the document. The summit, co-hosted by countries like the Netherlands, Singapore, and Kenya, is part of an ongoing global initiative to regulate military AI technologies. This gathering marked a second of its kind, building on the previous year's call to action in The Hague, which did not pose any legal obligations. Despite progress towards concrete guidelines, concerns about achieving a broader global consensus, as roughly 30 nations have still refrained from signing the agreement. The Dutch Defence Minister acknowledged the challenge of ensuring compliance among non-signatory nations, highlighting the complexities of enforcing AI governance in military applications. Experts cautioned that pushing too quickly for regulations might alienate some countries, making incremental steps like the blueprint essential for future international agreements. So what? As we have previously mentioned, so long as there is strong geopolitical competition between the West and China, fields such as AI will be hard to regulate as countries are forced to compete against each other. This is particularly true when it comes to AI in a military context, as both sides is trying to get one up on each other to stay ahead on the battlefield for any potential engagement. While an agreement such as this is beneficial for the safety of the world, it seems unlikely that it will be signed by China and Russia in the short and medium terms, especially so long as the Ukraine conflict continues. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, why not tell your friends to help them stay informed and leave us a review? Or if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced, and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.